Okay, class, most of you have joined. Thank you very much for coming over this time because it was going very long for us taking these classes. So I wanted to make sure that we are done with this quality assurance complete course and whatever the things that we left in past. So they are small topics. So I will cover them today at one go. So be with me, take your tea, take your coffee. I give you 5 minutes. Yeah, just make sure you have your tea and coffee in your hand, and then we start the lectures. So we're gonna start with regulatory requirement in India. So we were discussing so far about USA and Europe. Now it's come to discuss about the regulatory requirements in India. Yeah. So, welcome back, students. So, we can start the class now. So, what are the regular requirements for the key considerations? So, regulatory measure should be minimum required. So, regulatory measure should have minimum compliance cost. Regulatory measure should benefit society, and regulatory measure should comply with laws of country. And these should be made and enforced in transport manner, should be fair and treat all equitably, and should be drafted in clear and simple language for understanding, and should be flexible for amendments or revisions if required due to changed circumstances. So, foreign trade quality regulations in India. So, Directorate General of Foreign Trade, relevant regulatory agency, BIS for 68 products for exports, Export Inspection Council. So, all the for the imports and exports, these are the regulatory bodies that deal with it. Some acts regulations that are regulating in India and with the corresponding to the agency that involved. For the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 1954 is based on the pattern of US FDA. So it's by Directorate General of Health Services. Then plant quarantine regulation of import into India according to Order 2003, Department of Agriculture and Cooperation. Then Insecticides Act, Department of Agriculture and Operation. Then Food Products Order 1955, Ministry of Food Processing and Industries. Then Meat Food Product Order 1973, Ministry of Food Processing and Industries. Milk and Milk Products Order 1992, Directorate General of Health Services. Standard on Weight and Measurement Act 1976, Department of Legal Metrology. And then Bureau of Indian Standard Act 1986, Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. Then Agmark Act 1937, Directorate of Marketing and Inspection. Then some acts, regulations, control orders to regulate trade in India and the agencies that are involved in them. So drugs and cosmetic rules, Ministry of Health and Family, Textiles Regulation, Ministry of Textiles, then Export Act 1963, Export Inspection Council of India, then Indian Explosive Act, Chief Controller of Explosives, and Mines Act, Director General of Mine Safety. So, Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 1954, products that are being governed are infant milk, packaged drinking water, and natural mineral water. Then infant milk substitutes, feeding bottles and infant foods, so plastic feeding bottles. Bureau of Indian Standard Act 1986, electric wires, cables, appliances, and protection devices and accessories. And Indian Explosive Act 1884, gas cylinders, and Bureau of Indian Standard Act 1986, clinical thermometers. And Essential Commodities Act 1955, pressure stove steel tubes, and Environmental Act 1986, compression ignition engines, and then Bureau of Indian Standard Act BIS 1986, Siemens are dealing with that. And according to BIS, so Indian Standard Institutions, they are known for the setup of their setup on the 6th January 1947. This is under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Foods and Public Distributions, Government of India, as a statutory body under BIS Act, effect from 1 April 1987, National Standards Body of India. The objectives that it deal with: harmonious development of standardization and quality control in national and international arena, certification schemes for products and systems, growth and development of Indian industry, commerce and exports, and consumer production. Then approach to standardization. So standard formulated by BAIs are primary, voluntary in nature through various acts regulations. Out of more than 1800 standards formulated so far, only 68 standards are subject to mandatory certification. Then this is the setup. This is the basic setup of this thing is. So you have a technical committee structures. So you have manufacturers, consumers like government and departments, then technologists, regulatory authorities, testing laboratories, consultants, universities, and other experts. So standards formulations, the basic steps. These are a separate code of good practice of TBT agreement, international standards. However, in case of fundamentals, technical, geographical, climatical problems, standards are set as per the national requirements. And NSB BIS takes full part in the development of international standards relevant to the national needs. All standards are widely circulated at draft stage. Period of comments is generally not less than 3 months. For urgent reasons pertaining to safety, health, or environment, period can be reduced. Draft documents are hosted on BIS website for public comments. All comments are duly considered by the appropriate authorities, and program of work is published and also hosted on the BIS website and is periodically updated. These are the some standard formulated published data. Indian standard published 18,315, ISO IEC standard 5,821, standard harmonized with ISO and IS standard 4,449, and so on. Then standard development process. So it has new worked item first, then first draft is taken care, yeah, then circulation to committee members, then their comments, then there's a P draft, then after that circulation to committee members, then comments on it, then you have a meeting, WC draft, public circulation, then again some comments, then again meeting, then adoption division council, first draft is standard, then it's the national standardized to the world people. Then conformity assessment practices. So certification activities of BIS, so operating under Act of Indian Parliament, offers third-party insurance based on well-defined scheme of testing and inspection, ensuring adequacy of in-process quality control. Then certification activities of BIS supported by testing laboratories, BIS labs and other labs, accreditation under National Laboratory Accreditation Scheme according to iOS, and traceability to the APLAC or ILAC. Then certification schemes based on type 5 of ISO Guide 28, which includes type testing and assessment of factory quality control and its acceptance followed by, and surveillance that takes into account audit of factory quality control and testing of samples both from factory and open market. Then certification schemes for foreign manufacturers. Scheme for foreign manufacturers like 93 license granted in 16 countries such as France, UAE, South Korea, Nepal, Switzerland. And products certified includes packaged drinking water, cements, wood products, steel products, milk products, and so on. So regulations and their notifications. So criteria for the notification practices includes assessment of whether international standard exists or technical content differs from the international standard, impact of regulation on the trade, various sources that are consulted like TBT agreement, relevant committee recommendations and decisions, and regulatory agency responsible for the regulation. Then notification procedures, preparations initiated by regulatory or proposed legislation. So complete notification format by the regulatory body in consultation with the Ministry of Commerce. Clear and descriptive outline of the regulatory proposal. Give adequate time to comment on the proposal, reasonable time for adoption of measure. In the submission, prepared notifications are sent to WTO, Central Registry of Notification by National Notification Authority. Then MOU, MRA, tools for regulatory cooperation. So BIS has signed MOUs with 15 countries to enhance the cooperation in standardization and conformity, facilitate sharing of expertise and mutual trade, and MRA with Sri Lanka also, so trade facilitation. So Indo-US Cooperation Initiative, so Indo-US portal is commitment by BIS and ANSI to provide common platform for required transparency, facilitate sharing of information or trade issues, so provide mutual support at international fora, and facilitate harmonization of standard and conformity assessment procedures through increased transparency. Then Regional Cooperation Initiative established by SARSO, that is South Asian Regional Standard Associations. Objectives are coordination and cooperation between SAARC countries in standard and conformity assessment, develop harmonized standards, facilitate intra-regional trade, and promote MRAs on conformity assessment. So thank you. This is not for you. So that was the how the Indian system works, how the Indian standard works. So now we're gonna discuss about orphan drugs, very important topic. So in this we will discuss about definition, rare diseases. Basically, orphan drugs are the one. There are some rare diseases for which there's not so much funding is done, but we still have to find some drugs for that. So for those rare diseases, the drugs that are found, they are called as orphan drugs. So we will discuss about rare diseases, essential versus orphan drug act, example of drugs and manufacturers, orphan drug designations, Indian perspective and references. So orphan drug definition, the orphan drug designation program provides orphan status to drugs and biologics which defined as intended for the safe and effective treatment of diagnosis or prevention of rare disease disorders. The so-called orphan drugs are intended to treat diseases so rare that sponsors are reluctant to develop them under usual marketing conditions. So a rare disease occurs infrequently in a population, but there is no universal definition. So three elements to definitions as used in various countries are as follow. The total number of people having the disease, is it prevalence, and known availability of treatment of the disorder. So country like USA, Japan, South Korea, Australia, Taiwan, Europe, China, India. So total population affected less than 1%. 200,000, 50,000, 20,000, 2,000, 10,000, 500,000. And the prevalence 1,000 per 1,000 of population is 7.4, 0.54, 1.1 and so on. And India, we still have nothing so important. We don't have much. India, like many developing countries, still has no standard definition. Considering the large population of India, according to the Organization of Rare Disease in India, ORDI, which suggests disease to be defined as rare if it is affects which affects 1 in 5,000 people or less. Then WHO, World Health Organization, has suggested that rare diseases should be defined as one of the frequency less than 6.5 to 10 per 10,000 people. Then rare disease facts, so there are more than 7,000 plus rare diseases known reported worldwide, and over 350 million people worldwide are affected, like around 30 million in USA, 30 million in Europe, and 70 million in India. So about 80% of RDs are genetic in origin, many of them being monogenic. So 50% of RDs are onset at birth and the rest are late onset. So only 500 approved orphan drugs exist in the market and over 100 in clinical trials. So majority of the disease have no treatment and when they exist are mostly unaffordable. So early diagnosis is critical challenge in RD in management. So average time is 5 to 7 years, which is affordable. So inherited cancers, autoimmune disorders, congenital malformations, infectious diseases, and others like hemoglomas, Hirschsprung disease, Gaucher disease, cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophies, lysosomal storage disorders. So these are the various rare diseases are. Some pie chart of the same. Oncology is the highest one. So essential versus orphan drugs. So essential drugs in concrete policies in a place. They were worldwide in 1977 and orphan came out to be 1983 in USA and EU 2000. So primary focus is public health and other is individual patient and they are initiated by WHO and member states in orphan drugs by USA, EU, Japan and Australia. So criteria is drug driven, disease driven and policies aim to provide established medicines and new medicine to yet untreated patients. Economics, cost effectiveness, sustainable and affordable access and high prices per patient. So Orphan Drug Act 1983, USA became the first country to enact Orphan Drugs Act on January 4th, 1983. The law is designed to facilitate the development and commercialization of drugs to treat rare diseases, and the silent features of the act are as follows: incentives, faster priority clearance, and market exclusivity. So impact of the act, so marketed orphan designated drugs, they are around 281, and orphan designated drugs in clinical phase 4,000, and highest number of drugs in phase 2 trial 231. And US dominates clinical trials process 315 pipeline, and key market for the US is more than $40 billion. So comparisons of various policies on orphan drug worldwide, so like USA, Japan, Australia, and UE. So legal framework, this Orphan Drug Act 1983 USA, and the Japan has Orphan Drug Regulation. Then Australia has Orphan Drug Policy, and UE has Regulation CE. So the following table for the same. So companies that are involved in the manufacture of orphan drugs, these are Pfizer's, GlaxoSmithKline, Novartis, Sanofi Aventis, Johnson & Johnson, Bayer, Orphan Drug Specialists, Genzyme, and Acetylone. So few example of orphan drugs in the company: Zavisca, Trisinox, Aldozarine, Glavik, Fabazyme, Ventavis, Lytec, and following companies. So for the designation process, sponsors have to first send request to the Office of Orphan Product Development (OOPD) to grant orphan designations to their drug or biological product to take advantage of financial incentives available for further product development, and then send NDA, new drug application, to the Center for Drug Evolution and Research (CDER) for the Center for Biologic Evolution and Research to market their orphan drug or biological product. So there's a preclinical development and clinical development. So can submit designation request in between. So after designation request is submitted, so typical review cycle is around 90 days, which are often less. Will either be receive designation letter or deficiency letter. So once designated, sponsor is required to submit annual reports until drug is approved. So review of designation request involves: what is the disease conditions? Is the disease rare? And is there sufficient scientific rationale that demonstrate promise that a drug biologic will treat, diagnose, or prevent the disease conditions at issues? Some Indian perspective: rare disease treatments currently available in India. In India, about 6,000 to 8,000 rare diseases, mostly genetic in nature. So in theory, close to 400 US FDA approved orphan drugs and about 80 EMA approved orphan drugs are available in India and worldwide. However, in practice, most of them are either not accessible to most patients in India or unaffordable. Financial incentives available to orphan drugs developers in India. So currently, drug developers in India are receiving no formal incentives from the government, and hence they are focused on developing affordable drugs for more common diseases such as oral insulin, statins for preventing or slowing the progression of CVDs, vaccines and antibiotics for number of preventable infectious diseases. So hence patients with rare disease in India have to rely on important drugs from Western countries, which make these treatments unaffordable. So financial assistance to rare disease patients in India, the healthcare system in India is mostly self-funded by the patients, and this restricts the affordability threshold for drugs and diagnostic tests to around 25,000 rupees per instance, or about lakh rupee. The cost of most available orphan drugs are significantly higher than this affordability range, require the need for the financial assistance. So patients look for patients foundations, other non-governmental organizations, and charitable access programs offered by certain pharma companies to cover these costs. So examples of such initiations are Birth Defect Registration of India (BDRI), Lysosomal Storage Disorders Support Society, Metabolic Errors and Rare Disease Organizations, and Association for Social and Health Advancement, and Hemophilia Foundation. So some more organizations: Sojourn India, Pompe, Muscular Dystrophy, Alzheimer, Rett Syndrome, Association of Persons, Amrita Varshini, Able, Mumbai Marathon. So biggest hurdles to improve patients' access to orphan drugs in India is awareness among doctors, patients and other stakeholders of rare diseases, relevant clinical trials on orphan drugs, affordability and accessibility of orphan drugs in India, enactment of the Orphan Drugs Act by the Government of India. Yeah. So in conclusion, the new approved orphan drugs should be easily accessible and affordable to patients with rare disease in India. And Government of India and other pharma biotech diagnostic industry should work together to enact on the Orphan Drug Act ODA, and that will create incentives for orphan drug developers. Government needs to create a framework that is conducive to enabling the manufacturing of orphan drugs in India. So some references, some rare disease that were launched in on February 2014, ORDI, which was aimed to empower the rare diseases patients and their families in India, and as to national and international resources to improve their quality of life. Orphanet, a reference portal for information on rare diseases and orphan drugs for all audiences. Some orphanage services, yeah, that's it. So this was all about the orphan drugs. Yeah. So this is also one of the most important topic within the drug regulatory affairs when somebody is interested in to make. Sorry, I just was about to sneeze, but I got saved. Bless me. So yeah, that's the thing about it. Now let's go to the next topic. That is FDA regulations for medical devices. So in this also, this is basically all the rules about 510K. Yeah, this is the we will discuss the how the medical devices should come in the market. So I will not discuss much things in this part. This is more about law here. Yeah. So what is the substantial equivalence? Who submit that? What are the content of this law? What does things it required and not required? Yeah. So what is the pre-market approval, introduction, content of PMA, review of PMA, PMA supplement, types of PMA supplement, IDE, pre, and so on. Medical devices reporting, imported medical devices. So who regulate medical devices? So in Australia, it's Therapeutic Good Administration (TGA). In Europe, its certification is obtained from notified body. In USA, it's FDA, Food and Drug Administration. In Canada, it's Health Canada. In China, the State Food and Drug Administration. In Japan, Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. And in Brazil, ANVISA. And in India, CDSCO. So the Food and Drug Administration (FDA) or US FDA is a federal agency of United States Department of Health and Human Services. So medical devices, the term medical devices includes everything from highly sophisticated computerized medical equipment down to simple wooden tongue depressors. So computerized medical equipment like X-ray machines, ECG machines, pacemakers, etc. So an instrument, apparatus, implement, machines, implant, in vitro reagents or other similar related articles include a component part or accessory which comes under the pharmacopoeia. So classifications of medical devices: class 1, class 2 and class 3. So class 1 examples are elastic bandages, examination gloves, handheld surgical instruments. In class 2, powered wheelchairs, infusion pumps, surgical drapes. In class 3, heart valves, silicone gel filled breast implants, implanted cerebellar stimulators, and so on. So device class and regulatory controls. So class 1, it's with exemptions and without exemptions. Class 2, with exemptions and without exemptions. Class 3, general controls and special controls and pre-market approval. So establishment, registrations and device listing. So establishment required to list their devices includes manufacturers, contract manufacturers that commercially distributed these devices, contract sterilizers that commercially distribute these devices, repackagers, rebilling. So manufacturers must register their organization with FDA and then submit this electronically or through a US agent and then verify registration information every year. So this is the US, if you go to the US Food and Drug Administration website, so this is the establishment, registration and device listing, the page looks like, where you have to write product code, device class, regulation number, medical specialty, registered establishment, the name, registered establishment number, and so on. So pre-marketed notification introduction. So all medical devices must submit pre-marketed notification except device for which PMA application is required and device exempted from 510K notification FDA. So for device with 510 submission, manufacturer must receive a clearance order before commercial distribution. So submitter must compare his medical device with similar legally marketed device and prove substantial equivalence. And submitter submit 510K to FDA before marketing, and submitter receives an order in form of letter from FDA which proves the device is substantially equivalent. Then substantial equivalent, a device is substantially equivalent only. First is same use as predicate and same technology characteristics as predicate. Same use as predicate but different technology characteristics as predicate. Then resubmit another 510K request for class 1, class 2 designations through de novo process, file reclarification submission and submit a PM application. Then who submit 510K? Domestic manufacturers, specifications developer, foreign manufacturer must submit 510K as they're introducing medical device. USA market for first time, proposing a new different use for device already in commercial use, changing device already in use, repacker or relabeler who modify or change the labeling of medical device. Then content of 510K, there is no 510K form but these contents must be present. Device name and class, substantial equivalent comparisons to predict, indications for use, description of device, performance data, compliance with standard and labeling, sterilization and packing. So when is 510K required? So when device is marketed for the first time, medical device was not marketed before May 28, 1976. For these devices, 510K is required. So propose different use from that of predict, change or modification is in predict medical device that affects the safety and effectiveness. So if unfinished products or components or devices are sold, if another forms device, then 510K is not required. So this is the 510K pre-market notifications looks like. Believe me, if you want to work in these parts, maybe you will be in future. One of you student might be working under this part and you might be filling these forms. Yeah, you never know. So you never know, you might be filling these forms, you're doing all these regulatory affairs documentations in future in US. So you might be meant to do that. Yeah, you never know. So I have shared all these documents with you. So keep them with you forever. Never ever misplace them. So this group will be there forever. And do download all the files in it. Yeah, the 9 files of regulatory affairs, and I think there are around 10 files for your quality insurance. So total 19 files have been delivered to you now so far, and our course will be finished by today, I guess. And then so please do make sure that you go through these slides and go through your own some homework within the same field. You might be working in that field again. So pre-market approval supplement, so submissions requires for change affecting for safety of device which is having this pre-market approval PMA. Change must meet the quality system requirement, and types of PMA supplements 180 days in depth review, and special PMA supplement change being affected and 30 days notice and 135 days PMA supplement. So investigational device exemptions, so collection of data allows investigational device to be used in clinical study to collect data required to support to pre-marketed approval. So investigational device exemptions is important for device which do not clear it using pre-marketed approval. So requirements to produce with investigational device exemptions. So plan approved by Institutional Review Board IRB for higher risk, labeling stating the device is only for investigational use, monitoring of study and all records and reports. So pre-marketing requirement and labeling. So Label plus literature infotation of description. Label versus labeling. Then display of written, printed or graphical matter upon immediate container. So any information appearing on immediate container must also be appear on the wrapper. Then labeling, all label and other written, printed or graphite matter upon any article or accompanying such articles. Then post-marketing requirement, quality system regulations, GMP introduction. So quality system specifies the requirement of method, facilitates and control of for device, medical device life cycle. Manufacturer must follow quality system to ensure the product has all the requirements and specifications, and quality system for FDA are also known as current GMPs. So flexibility of quality system regulations, all the manufacturer must follow the same regulations process for development, helps the manufacturer to ensure that device is safe, and manufacturer must maintain the regulation process without any compromise. And the quality system is pyramid, the quality manual, quality procedures, detailed work instructions, record forms and reports. Medical device reporting, a medical device that causes death, injury or device malfunction is required to report FDA, which helps to detect and correct problems of medical device. So mandatory device reporting. So these are the manufacturers and importers, what to report format, to whom and when. So this is for the mandatory medical device reporting. This is the form how it looks like the MedWatch. The complaint file and MDR. Complaint file are linked to medical devices reporting file because a complaint must be evaluated to determine if it is a reportable adverse event. And complaints may be written or oral electronic. Manufacturers and import must maintain complaint file. So reporting an emergency, notify FDA office for crisis management and searching medical device reports and so on. So MDR final rule, medical device manufacturer importer needs not to submit annual certification statement. So domestic distributor need to submit medical device report but must maintain record of adverse events, and submitters now submit the reports annually instead of semi-annually. So this is about FDA medical devices. So here students, just take 5 minutes break. We start um, around 19 at 7. Yeah, we start. Just take a break because we have did 3 things on continuations. We should take a break now. We start at around 19 o'clock. Yeah, have a break. So we will start with the next part, that is FDA advisors and committees. A break with 5 minutes. Okay, we should start now. Welcome back. FDA advisory committees. So what does the range of advisory committees includes? So CDR, it includes cardio-renal drugs, anti-infective drugs, antiviral drugs, oncological drugs. In CBR, blood and blood products, vaccines. And CVM, veterinary meds. And CDRH, circulatory system devices. Oops, my mic is not nearby me. Yeah, it's with me now. Circulatory system devices, dental devices, radiological devices. Then CFSAN, food advisory, and NCTR, ranch hands, so on. Then FACA, so Federal Advisory Committee Act, so Public Law 192463, independent advice on scientific issues, and so on. And FACA, scientific not policy, advisory only, 1 hour public in moment, have background material for all sites 18 days prior to MTG, limitations on last minute material. Then appointed by commissioner, fixed terms, screen for COI bias, and large role played by chair. Then composition, standing MBRs, other invitees, yeah, scientific tech experts, patients rep, statisticians, consumer rep, industry rep, occasional senators, and so on. Then pre-meetings IAs, generally limited, discussions of issues must be in public, factual questions possible, but exact sec must be involved. The general public, it has FDA reviewer, executive secretary, and committee members, and industry at the end. So typical agenda, it includes at 8 a.m. you have administrative remarks, then FDA introduction, sponsors presentations, break, FDA presentations, lunch, open public hearing, committee discussions and vote, and adjourn. Then questions to ACs, advisory committees. Were studies adequate to evaluate product effect? Was population studied appropriate? Is it appropriate to pool data? Optimal corrections methodology for QT corrections. Additionally, safety monitoring advice, if license should be the label described, any limitations in generalizing to certain subgroups. Then issues for ACs, discuss trial designs including F or up during the endpoints, especially surrogates, measurement quantitations, phase 4 commitments, first year safety reviews, generalizability of results, and so on. Then prerogative. So ACs can reword or answer the questions they wish had been asked. And ACs have answers questions that were not asked, offering advice on the future considerations. ACs often ask for more information, more data, and more studies. So statisticians' responsibility is know their project, know the process, communicate. Yeah, that's it. That was the all about the FDA advisory committees. Yeah. So now the last topic is left for the whole session now. Please do students, I think I haven't shared here, do comments on the Google reviews and over the LinkedIn once you get your certificates uh, about me and about EduFabrica workshops. Give your positive reviews, explain what you have learned with all these datas and all these guidelines that you have learned. Yeah, you didn't got the plan for that. So I will share that soon with you. Maybe it was here. Yeah, so only the last slide is left now. So this is the link to share your reviews over the Google review. If you open this link, yeah, so here you can see Google reviews here. So here you can edit your review, write about the reviews, and then just speak your general feeling about everything. Analytical biotechnology, something, whatever you feel like. So please do it and share your screenshot also, because otherwise it will be by our management. So it's quite necessary that if you give positive responses, and we can submit response for your certificates. And also like our LinkedIn page. Yeah. Yeah, please do it today. Um, Now we'll start with the next slide, the last one, biologics. So regulatory requirements for the product of approval of biologics. This is the general content. So what are biologics? So biologics are the product manufactured, extracted from the semi-synthesized from a biological source, which are regulated by FDA and are used to prevent, cure and treat diseases and medical conditions. These are the general large complex molecules produced through biotechnology in a living system such as microorganisms, plant, cell or animal cell. So these could be made of sugars, proteins, nucleic acids or complex combinations of these substances, or maybe living entities. So these are complex mixtures that are not easily identifiable and characterized. These tend to be heat sensitive and susceptible to microbial contamination. Hence, it is necessary to use aseptic principle from initial manufacturing process. Examples are like Botox, Herceptin, vaccines, and Brill. So sources and types of biologics. Sources like mammalian cell culture, the type will be blood derivatives. Bacteria would be vaccine. Insect cell culture will be allergenic. Plant cell culture whole blood. Yeast blood components. Transgenic proteins. Avian cell culture human tissues. Human cell cellular gene therapies. Xenotransplantation products and so on. So differences between biologics and chemical drugs. So like properties and biologics and chemical drugs. So size, it has large and small, and structures are complex and simple. Stability is unstable and stable. Modification is many options well defined. Manufacturing is impossible to ensure identical copy. An identical copy can be made. And characterizations impossible to characterize and easy to characterize. So regulatory authority for biologics. So Center for Biologics Evolution and Research, CBR, is a center within the FDA that regulates biologics products for human use under applicable federal laws, including the Public Health Services Act, PHS, and Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act. So CBR protects, advances the public health by ensuring the biological products safe and effective. Now, FDA regulatory authority for approval of biologics resides in PHS Act, and biologics are subjected to regulations under Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act. So some medical devices which are used to produce biologics are regulated by CBR under FD and C, Medical Devices Amendments of 1976. So FDA also reviews new biological products and new indications and usage for already approved products on the market for treatment of known diseases. and it protects against threats for the emerging infectious diseases and provides the public with information to promote safe and appropriate use. And development and approval processes, advertising and labeling, investigational new drug applications IND or device exemption process IDE. Then expanded access, pre-market approval, biological license applications, new drug application process, and biologicals approval by year. And biological license applications BLA. So biological license application is a request for permission introduce or deliver for introduction of a biological product into the market. It is mainly regulated by 21 CFR 600-800. It is submitted by any legal person or entity. So biological license applications generally applies to vaccines and other allergenic drugs, products, and cellular genetic therapies. So Form 356 specifies the requirement for BLA, and it mainly includes applicant information, product information, preclinical studies, and labeling. So this is the forms looks like for the biological human use applications to market. Yeah. So biological license applications BLA applications must submit Form 356H to CBR and await further review of the FDA. So FDA receives the BLA, reviews if the manufacturers produce inappropriate information, then it issues a letter called refuse to file RTF. So regulatory body in United States and Europe, in United States FDA, and in Europe it's EMEA, European Medicine Evolution Agency. Approval standards is BLA, here is the MAA, Marketing Authorization Applications. So preclinical studies are done over the chimpanzees, and this is on the rodents and non-rodent species. And study designs are pharmacodynamic studies, pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamic studies also. And carcinogenicity and reproductive and development toxicity. So they are inappropriate, and here is also inappropriate, may or may not be recommended. These are fertility studies, embryo fetal development, pre and postnatal development studies, PP&D. Then clinical studies includes 3 phases, phase 1, 2 and 3. It must have IND in fact, begins only FDA approves it. Then this is most comply with the GCP as described in EC guidelines, which the CHMP is adopted. Then phase 1 frequently involve administration to patients rather than the healthy volunteers, and this is initially safety, tolerability, PK and PD. Then phase 2 evolution of safety and short-term adverse events, the safety and efficacy, and the phase 3 begin if preliminary evidence of effectiveness is shown during the phase 2, and this is the therapeutic confirmatory studies explore the dose response relationship. So in conclusion, the study introduced the legal and regulatory aspect pertaining to biologics in the United States and European Union. So drug approval in the US, Europe, and the most demanding in the world. And the main objective of the rules of governing medicinal products in US, Europe is to safeguard the public health. So it is the role of regulatory authorities to ensure the pharmaceutical companies shall comply with the regulations mentioned above. Some references to some websites. So thank you very much. So that's all, I guess. All the things have been shared. So some books I will share here with you also related to FDA might be useful to you. So please also give your comments. Okay. PDF. So thank you very much, students. It was very thanks to you first of all. So being joining me today here on the short notice, and we are able to have done all the topics now completed under the drug regulatory affairs. So our course is finished. So try to submit your review articles. So based on that, you will get your certificates and your internship letters. So please contact with Vatsal sir and Shwani ma'am. They will be the concerned person for the same to get your certificates and your internship letter. If you have any questions, if you have anything to ask for, you are almost welcome. Meghapal, I will answer your questions about practical thing. Let me think about it, and please yeah, give me a call maybe, and let me know what are your expectations from that, what you're looking forward to it, then we can plan something for you. Yeah, so don't worry, we will find some solutions for you. And students, do hit on the LinkedIn, and also make sure that the YouTube that you are in, all students, do subscribe it, like the videos, and it will be very helpful for me to grow further. Join me on the LinkedIn, join the EduFabric on the LinkedIn, promote yourself. Yeah, write some good words about us. It will be very helpful then. So thank you very much for being there. Wish you all good luck in the future. Maybe one of you might be working with the regulatory affairs in the US and working for the goods. Yeah, all the best for your future, all the best for your career. My best wishes, my all the good vibes, no? Good vibes, noble thoughts with you, that you conquer the things that you're looking for in your life. So thank you very much. Wish you all the best. Wish you a nice evening. Take care. Bye bye.